All right, guys, let's jump into it today. We're doing an early live stream, and of course, this is post ETF for Ethereum Day, and we'll talk about a recap here, what's been happening, and also what could this look like in the near future for Ethereum. My name is Walt Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. All right, let's get into it today. My voice is a little hoarse, but we're going to go with it and try to get going here. I want to thank our sponsor, and that is Coinbase. The future of money is here if you're brand new to crypto, and I think we're getting a lot of new viewers. So first of all, thank you for coming into the channel. Welcome. And make sure, by the way, and subscribe while you're here. But this is the place to go for your centralized position of at least setting up your Coinbase account, getting your first crypto buy-in. This is a great spot to do it. Just visit Coinbase.com. The future of money is here. Most trusted place for people to buy, sell, and use crypto. You can get up to $200 in a crypto reward just by setting up using our link down below. So make sure and use that to get started. And, start slow, begin to understand a little bit more, watch more videos, get educated, and start your trade journey. All right, let's get into it today. A couple things happening, of course, with Ethereum throughout. We saw some of the volumes come in. I'm going to zoom in on this right here on Eric's tweet. Day one in the books for ETH. $1 billion in volume, which is pretty significant. 23% of the spot Bitcoin ETF on their first day. ETH did 25% of IBIT's volume. Pretty significant, actually, if you look at that. But there's ETH with Grayscale, of course, the big one. I think this will turn around much faster for BlackRock and Fidelity as they continue to scale up in terms of inflow. I anticipate this first 7 days is going to be very interesting to watch. This is a very key and critical time, especially as we start to see some pressure on the S&P, and I'll talk about that in a second because there are some things happening over there. Within that, if you look at the tracker, you guys can follow along. There is one over on Blockworks. You can kind of toggle between Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's a pretty cool little tool tracking all of the current assets under management and the volume, so check that out. You can kind of see some of the activity from Bitwise, Valkyrie, all the different ones that are out there running within, whether it's a futures or a spot program. So you guys can scan through all those. Make sure and drop some questions in over on the side. We'll try to get to as many as we can. I want to go over to a few clips here. This is Eric Balchunas. Again, if you don't know Eric, like I said, maybe you're new to a channel. He's been on our show a couple times. He is one of the lead analysts on ETFs of all type. Okay, so he looks at every kind of ETF, not crypto, just every kind of ETF. He and Jeff Seifert do a really good job. And take a look at this clip. I think this will kind of give you a recap.
Solid is what I would go. I would say a solid A. Maybe not an A+. Our prediction was that these things would take or do about 20% of what the spot Bitcoin ETFs did, and they did 23%. I would say anybody who's an Ether person should be really happy with this. This is solid. 20% may seem like, well, okay, I'm a little jealous, but the Bitcoin ETFs was the biggest launch ever and beyond normalcy, like almost like an anomaly in physics. So it'd be like saying, hey, would you like 20% of Bill Gates' net worth? And you'd be like, hell yeah. Compared to a normal launch, I mean, these blow everybody away.
All right, so the point to really understand here, if you're trying to really kind of fit the blocks in their spot, when you look at ETFs in general, maybe you're a regular investor. Again, we don't give investment advice, but we do a lot of analysis and news run-up. And one of the things that's interesting to me is the fact that Ethereum is still a very innovative technology, and a lot of people don't necessarily know about it. But I believe we're going to see a lot of quick studies now coming from the asset managers that are in the space, starting to learn about what Ethereum is doing. And the fact that it got 23% of what happened with Bitcoin, biggest one ever, is super respectable. I think Eric was actually downplaying it a little bit more because I think that was very great in terms of performance. Now, what to watch for is kind of the next thing. In the same interview, they go a little bit deeper on this. Listen to what he had to say.
The other thing I'm looking for is just, how the messaging plays out. I saw Bitwise's attempt at it. I saw BlackRock's. Ether, to me, it potentially has more angles you can approach it from. So I'll be interested to see the marketing and how that is different by issuer. Again, this is such interesting case study for analysts because you've got all these launching on the same day. So you sort of have a lot of variables removed, and you can sort of then isolate things like fees, but all the fees are the same. So then, it really comes down to marketing and hustle and size. And so it helps us get some knowledge for like what works in the ETF market overall. So like I said, this is, it's small relative to the whole size of the ETF market, but is a very useful case study for an analyst to monitor. So we will look at all angles of it.
I think there's going to be a lot of aftermath on this, both on the analysis side, but also in the predictive side, in terms of where the asset is going to be going. Because you'll see, in most cases, as I said, you'll see a lot of marketing behind this. You're going to see some strategic moves, I think, behind some of the asset managers themselves that I think will be key. And the thing, if you look at the Ethereum chart right now, and our poll out there for some of you is looking at, do we hit 3,200 first from here, or does ETH run up to 3,800, which would get us back into almost the high for this particular season? Not quite all time, but do we get back in this 3,800 range, or do we come back down in here into this 3,200 range first? Which one do you think is going to happen? Because right now we're going a little bit sideways on Ethereum. I'd love to get you guys feedback. A couple of points right now. We are using our MSI indicator. These are great trailing stops that indicate on sentiment. And of course, we do a full sentiment analysis right here on the 4 different markers we look at, which is the overall trade, volume, and net, and then the average. So right now, looking bullish that we might see a little bit of a move on Ethereum. I want to jump in, and this is one of the things that, remember, with Bitcoin, we saw a little bit of pop, and then a downturn, and then basically a skyrocket, which is what we saw with Bitcoin after its ETF. I want to go to a couple more clips here, because this is Matt Hogan. And Matt Hogan goes into, Bitwise, goes a little bit into more impressions on what he thinks is going to happen here from an outlook standpoint. Take a look.
Yeah, it's been an incredible reaction, to be honest. It's exceeded my expectations. Through lunchtime, we had about $500 million traded in these new ETFs. By comparison, the average ETF trades about $1 million on its launch day. So it's shaping up to be the second most successful ETF launch of all time, after, of course, the Bitcoin ETFs. And we expect to see strong flows into ETHW, the Bitwise Ethereum ETF, when we close out later today. Long term, as we look into 2025, we've entered the ETF era of crypto. We're going to see ETFs on multiple crypto assets. We're going to see index-based ETFs. You've already seen firms filing for Solana ETFs. The thing we've learned from the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF launches is that ETFs work in this asset class. They lower costs, they raise protections, and investors want them. I think we'll see a wide array in the next year or two.
I think that's a huge statement coming from Hogan. He understands the markets, and I think more importantly, he understands kind of the mindset of major investors, and this could come from private offices, what we'll see coming into the market in terms of high net worth individuals, and a lot of major asset managers in terms of their psyche and how they present an asset class. And I think the fact that we are going to see more ETFs coming in on all sorts of crypto projects only strengthens the market as a whole. He talks a little bit further about why people would want anything outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, because many people would say, hey, that's really all you really need, or is there something else here? Take a look.
So I think the biggest reason they want additional assets is just diversification, but there's also an element of these smaller assets like Solana that have significant momentum. So there's some that want to speculate on those individual assets. But I think the big play for institutions, family offices, and financial advisors is actually just owning the field, owning Bitcoin, owning Ethereum, eventually owning other assets, maybe owning crypto equities. They want to do the same thing they do in stocks and bonds, which is diversify and own the asset class.
Simple investments, guys. Diversification, always a smart route. And if you look at some of the investors, especially as they start to venture into crypto, because this is going to be new for a lot of people. So you have to remember that we're in the very early stages of where this market and this asset class could be going. So it's going to be kind of a tread into the water, figure out which one is the best. look at the speculative type assets, whether it's Solana, Avalanche, many others that I think will make their way into ETFs, and then starting to play the game. That's the typical, MO of investors. Many people, though, are asking, well, why didn't ETH run? I've had many asset managers that I talk to within my own circle. Had a text with one of them last night. He and I got back and forth on it, and he's not a big Ethereum fan, but I'll just leave it at that. But he's out there giving the positions why. Here's why the Ethereum asset itself didn't run with the ETF launch. A couple of points within this. There was a chance that there was kind of this buy the rumor and sell the news situation. That's typical of almost any major event out there, whether it's crypto, S&P 500, doesn't matter, stocks, bonds, you name it. If there's major events that are occurring, especially if you look at things like even interest rates that are going to be dropping, even inflation, when we look at the CPI starting to adjust down. This is typical of almost any out there. Many people probably looked at this as a kind of sell the news position. And if you look further into it, institutional inflows, important. The mood of the market as a whole still muted because retail investors do not participate. That's the other factor we haven't necessarily seen. Bitcoin suffered a similar fate before witnessing a significant inflow and then recovering almost to 70K, which we saw pretty much happen right in front of us. So a lot of things I think that are still at play with Ethereum and whether or not we will see a hard move up. Remember that it's all about supply and demand. And supply right now for Ethereum is quite a bit different than we've seen before on some of these assets. So that's a big one to watch. Don't forget to put some questions in over on the side and make sure and subscribe to the show today. We hit 450 yesterday, 450,000 subs. We're going for the 500 mark. We want to thank all of you for, of course, being part of the PBN family. So again, big kudos to you guys because without you, we can't do any of this. So thank you so much for that. I want to get into a couple of points that hit the wires yesterday. And Bitcoin Magazine reported this, and they did it, I think, a little bit prematurely. I'm a little bit in a quandary of why this was done this way, but hear me out on this. But Kamala Harris decided not to speak at the Bitcoin after they put out a statement that she was coming. The 2024 conference in Nashville. This came in from CEO David Bailey. And I look at this and, I think about, strategy and how businesses kind of move. And in many cases, campaigns do the same because every, thing that you do matters, especially when things are coming out to the wire. So I think she would have been ill prepared for an event like that. And she was going into hostile territory where there was a bit of an incumbent that had kind of come in. So in my opinion, it was probably a smart move on her part and her team's part to step away from that. I would love to see it, but I think it was a smart move on the Democrats' side to step away, maybe reassess a little bit and see how to respond because right now they don't necessarily have a great track record overall. And maybe this is an opportunity for them, or they could screw it up completely and still lose in November if they don't understand that the crypto vote matters. Here's Caitlin Long. Here's what she says. Agreed unless she'd announced that she'd already fired all the Warrenites in the federal agencies, so basically Senator Warren stuff, who are still trying to kill the U.S. Crypto industry. She would have been booed heavily. Kind of a weird Caitlin Long tweet there. But the point is that she's saying, hey, there's a lot of people that have a lot of animosities, especially in the Bitcoin community, against those who are on the anti-crypto army. And we've known about this for a long time. Choke point 2.0 is a real thing. Yes, there's been a lot of challenges, but I feel, I'm not into big government, but I feel like maybe there is a play that could benefit government and the markets at the same time. I'm not saying these are perfect, but at least if we get to the level of where the rest of the world is going, whether it's MiCA, what's happening in Asia, that's the main thing. Legislation will be part of that, but it starts with the administration. And if the administration is not behind it, then it's a problem. It's a problem for our market. Democrats spent 4 years trying to destroy Bitcoin. I would say, yeah, probably true. Harris only wants to speak at the Bitcoin conference because she's desperate to avoid losing the election. I don't know that this is, again, these are coming from a lot of people at the Bitcoin conference. So just take that with a grain of salt. I don't think that is the position of the Democrats. And listen, I'm somewhat neutral, more conservative, I would say. But I look at this as a strategy that the Democrats have got to position. It's very early for them right now. And I think they would do themselves really well if they step back, get educated, get connected to some people that can help them understand what's happening. Because maybe the step away from Biden's administration could be a good thing. I'm not saying that's a good thing for crypto or for the markets in general, but if they were to come out on a positive note, I wouldn't do it now. I'd do it much later in the campaign as it nears the election, because you're going to need those extra market pumps and winning those votes as you go down the trail to November. So strategically, not a good move, would have been a bad move, I think. And, hey, I coach a lot of companies on advisory of how to move on markets, what to release first, how to maybe approach a bad situation or a good situation. And I think they actually might have handled this well for the current situation as it is right now. Cuban, though, has saying that Harris's camp has reached out with multiple questions about crypto. Now, there are a few tweets and people talking about things that have been said, but I'm getting multiple questions from her camp. It's coming in from Mark Cuban. He added that he did not know any other industry leaders who had been receiving the inquiries. I don't know. Mark's an interesting guy. Feedback I'm getting, but certainly not confirmed, is that the VP says she'll be far more open to business, AI, crypto, and government as a service. This is something I think that would be interesting if they start to really understand it. Further in the article, it makes sense why Harris would maybe turn to crypto immediately. Fair shake, of course. They're watching these PACs. I mean, this is 203 million right now. So it's significant, and she understands there's a huge voting block right now. We're estimating somewhere around 31 to 32 million voters in the United States that could be swayed on a single issue such as crypto. And a lot of these are younger voters. And I think this may turn out the younger voter for the first time. So the Harris camp is going to need to pay attention to what is happening here and not be in a position where they look like they're just following Trump's cues. So this is a chess match happening right now. And crypto, I think, might be the game board. So a lot of things happening. Kamala on crypto, how Biden's potential replacements feel about Bitcoin. Now, there's a lot of people within the group, and I'll say within the group of the Democratic Party, that have not completely come over, but yet at the same time, you have a handful that have. You think about Ro Khanna, who led the roundtable in DC with top advisors. Those are the kind of things I think that are a good thing that is more bipartisan. But multiple prominent crypto policymakers told Decrypt that any Biden replacement would mark a welcome change, and I think I would agree with that. Harris also got her political start by winning a race in 2010 to become district attorney in San Francisco, very tech-friendly, so she's familiar with these kinds of waters. Her ascent was widely viewed as a boon for tech companies in Silicon Valley. And again, I don't know her other politics other than, I look at mostly where do you stand on crypto, and that's kind of my position. Harris appears to have, in fact, never made a public statement, though, on the subject. So we may not have any real awareness of where she is. Interesting thing right here is that Polymarket is becoming the real-time poll. I think this may be the 538 of our time. If you guys remember 538 and the blog that was Nate Silver, I think it was Nate Silver, who was basically predicting a lot of what was happening in the 2008 and 12 market and elections very effectively. This may be the one. Well, guess what, guys? This is running right here within the crypto markets over on Polygon. So very interesting stuff. Notice right here, though, I want to show you something. If you come down here to the charts, I'll zoom in on this. Look at this drop once that once the Bitcoin Magazine announced that she wasn't coming. If she was ever coming, that's the question mark I have. So 37 down to where it's trending right now, which is around 33. So that's a pretty big drop in a short period of time, going head to head here with Donald Trump right now on the candidacy. So we'll see if this shifts more. We are tracking, if you guys want to learn a little bit more, we do kind of the same thing here, not based on betting, but based on sentiment. And her numbers have been climbing. I'll see if I can pull that up for you guys after on this next clip. I'll go to it and get it for you. Another thing I want to hit on right here, this is Balaji talking about this. Perplexity now has Polymarket when you search for election odds. I think that's kind of cool. This displays prediction markets more real time than any poll. And I would agree with that. The polls are actually behind now what we're seeing in Polymarket. So we may get a lot more awareness of crypto, its use cases, blockchain as a whole, in a very positive way for these prediction analysis. Granted, if they're correct, because remember, this stuff needs to be right most of the time. There are a handful that have been wrong over a bit, but you can kind of see just the movement that has been happening right there on this. I'm going to go to another article here. I want to get into this. This was a piece that is kind of interesting. It's a little bit of a bonus topic around. Remember, we've had the securitized guys on here. This is the, think of it as the real world asset connection to BlackRock for tokenized securities. And that's run on ETH, by the way. So what's happening here is we're seeing a little bit more of a shift of other potentials out there. So you got Coinbase Asset Manager Plan or Asset Management Planning Tokenized Money Market Fund, which is a very hot area after BlackRock's BIDL success, which is what we're talking about. Securitize launched that project known as BIDL. You guys want to track it, go over to the RWA website. You'll learn a little bit more about how it's flowing. I think it hit 500 million here recently. So not a bad move. Couple of points within the article. They're creating a tokenized money market fund for, again, this is still people familiar, so we haven't seen a verification of this, but it's a RWA asset, hot corner of the crypto market. BlackRock's tokenized, there you have it. U.S. Treasuries fund quickly grabbed 500 mil. So I think this is very early. And again, remember, a lot of Ethereum here. Do we get something now on base? That would be cool. That just continues to push into more market adoption. Here's Polytrade right here. We're thrilled to announce this will be coming to base, built on Coinbase, one of the largest Ethereum layer 2s. And soon, RWAs on base will find a home on polytrade.fi. So that'd be cool. We should probably get the Polytrade guys on the show. Don't forget, put some questions in over on the side. We'll try to get, again, to some of those. Here's their website, your gateway to real world assets. I like that. This could be interesting, especially real estate. I like the fact they're going into, interesting, collectibles, metals, precious metals, real estate. We'll see if they go into bonds and things of that nature. That would be helpful there as well. A few more tweets here I want to hit on. Mt. Gox creditors now receiving Bitcoin 4 hours ago. No significant spike in the hourly spot. So Bitcoin is weathering the storm right now. If you look at the chart, let me jump over to Bitcoin real quick. Weathering the storm sideways a little bit, but starting to get a little bit of a correction right here, going up to 66.6 on the day. And right now, a little bit trending positive in terms of sentiment. And if you look a little bit at the money flow coming in, not bad there. Order block still hovering at around 70K. I don't know if we'll get there soon, but hey, we got some movement happening here with Bitcoin. What else did we have? Here we go. Mag7 erased a combined 450 billion of market cap. So this is the thing that starts to concern me. And when I look at these kinds of moves, and I was talking with the asset manager last night, and he and his team manage hundreds of millions. And they're looking at this position right now as probably one of the most dangerous times in investing because of the shorts, even because of the longs that are probably going into play right now. If you look at some of the heat maps that are happening right now, volatility is getting worse. And he basically said we're getting into a position where we're going to start getting much more cautious on our trades. And what that tells me is that we could see asset and liquidity look for some new potential opportunities. And if crypto comes into the right time, with a political landscape brewing that could be positive, it could still go negative too. Could we see a bit of a shift here in that S&P versus crypto? I think that's the thing that it's going to be very, very hot to watch for sure. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, this is a trend that one of the traders that we've had here on the show, we're going to try to get him back on, is theorizing around these hash ribbons. It's called hash ribbon indicator. We've actually shown this before, but they just flashed a buy signal on the daily chart. Now, this is one that you don't see very often. It's only happened a few times, and they are in a position right now, this again on Bitcoin. So this could be a run coming in on Bitcoin. We'll see how this plays out. I've got a clip from him that explains it a little bit more. Take a look.
The hash ribbons indicator has just flashed buy signal on the daily. We've been waiting for this moment for months. This signal in the past has offered massive performance, and it indicates that the miners may have completed their capitulation, which is extremely bullish for the price of Bitcoin, especially considering that we are just below the all-time high. So I wouldn't take a buy signal necessarily as an entry to go with high leverage or anything like that, but more as a sign that there is a recovery from the miners. A hypothesis behind the hash ribbons buy signal is that if they have stopped to suffer and capitulate and sell Bitcoin due to the stress of having to mine that Bitcoin under not ideal conditions, like for example, they need to pay bills that are too expensive, and then suddenly they start producing Bitcoin and making good profits, that typically indicates the health of the network. The hash rate should go higher, the miners should be making money. In summary, everybody's happy, and why shouldn't the price of Bitcoin reflect that?
You know, we've had the trading parrot on before, and he might be right here. I mean, if you look at how miners and the idea of capitulation, what this plays into in the market strategies, and also how investors look at their entry positions, and Bitcoin might be in that position right now. So again, this is Bitcoin. We're talking about mostly Ethereum, but definitely one to keep an eye on right now because it's all pressing positive. But then again, if you look at Ethereum, right now we are in almost the same position, starting to go into a positive zone right there. You can kind of see those blocks down there on the chart. Don't forget to put some questions in over here. Let's go to the poll real quick and see what the poll says on ETH. All right, what happens first? Wow, everybody's split on this. So, but a little bit more bullish, going to 3,800. So if we do get a run up here to 3,800, it'd be a nice start. And I think this will give us an indicator of the additional inflows on the ETF, if it does impact the regular market or not. So we'll see. All right, Justin says, hey, congrats on the 450. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that. We're in good shape. Solana dominance is moving. I like that. Payday in 5 hours. Miguel. All right, let's go in. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong queue, guys. Sorry. All right, here we go. All right. So this means Coinbase stock going to pump some. We'll probably see some movement on Coinbase just because of what the markets could be doing. Anytime Bitcoin pumps, Coinbase is going to pump with it, kind of like MicroStrategies. Kind of surprised that ETH didn't do a dump after the news. That's true. It held up quite well. But will it pump? That is the question, man. You guys are on the $1 million question right there. David Crockett says, Bitcoin conference is a bunch of politicians. Well, are you talking about the conference or the people at the conference? There are quite a few politicians that are there, but I think any of them would appreciate politics, because right now listen, this is something that a lot of people ask me, and I, my response is pretty straight. Yes, politics and crypto intersect. Now, we didn't want it that way, but it has become that way over the last couple of years. Regulation, positions from Democrats and Republicans, it just is. So there's no way to talk about crypto without talking about politics, unfortunately. So just get used to it. It is going to be one of those things that is always going to come up, I think, probably from here on out. We'll see. Hopefully it can detach away. We'll see as things start to simmer down. David Clark says, ETH ETF doing better than Bitcoin after launch. Bitcoin dump. Yes, that's true. That's true that it dumped, but does it take that run? Because if you go to Bitcoin and you look at that ETF day, let's just go over here, guys. And just so everybody remembers, that's the launch right there. So yeah, there's the dump right there, that little Zippo area. That's where we saw a little bit of the dump over about an 8-9 day run. But come on, I mean, look at that. That's crazy. If ETH gets even anywhere near this kind of craziness, we could see some changes in the market pretty quickly. Phil C says, Fox News said she would be there. David said she was undecided. If she shows up, that's ballsy. If she shows up, that's ballsy. I will say that. ETF, constant long-term buy pressure, totally agree with that. Soleil says Ethereum ETF will have a turtle move, slow and steady, maybe. Let's see, wonder, who else do we have? Oh, Splud is back in the comments today. Did Mt. Gox have ETH to distribute also? I don't know if they had any significant amount of ETH, but remember that a lot of the ETH is locked up. So I'm not sure would that even have been available at that time? That's interesting. Good question. I'd have to go back and look at the dates. All right, if you guys are not in the Diamond Circle, get in right now. By the way, we're going to be doing we're going to drop a nice wipe there, guys. Ooh, smooth. I love that one. We're going to be doing another interview today with 21 Shares, which is one of the ETH asset managers, ETH ETF asset managers. We'll get a chance to kind of dive in on that. So check in. We'll drop it a little bit later. It's a recorded video. So we're going to be doing that. We'll try to get it out today for you guys. Take a look at that, especially if you're into ETH and covering all that. If you're not in the Diamond Circle, get in now. It's a great place to get additional content. We got a community over there that I communicate with a lot within. So it's good direct access to me. Jump into that. And of course, follow me out there on X @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.